All right, disruptors, let me ask you something. Who convinced us that success had to come with exhaustion? Seriously, when did being constantly busy become a badge of honor? When did we start celebrating people who answer emails at midnight, skip vacations, sacrifice their health, and wear burnout like a trophy? Because somewhere along the way, hustle stopped being something we did and became who we were. And here's what's fascinating. Research tells us that nearly 3 out of 4 professionals say they've experienced burnout at work. Yet we're more connected than ever, more productive than ever, more technologically advanced than ever, and somehow more disconnected from ourselves than we've ever been. The problem isn't that we're working too little. Maybe we're working for the wrong reasons. Maybe we've confused achievement with fulfillment. Maybe we've climbed ladders that were leaning against the wrong walls. And maybe, just maybe, success without peace isn't success at all.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mindset Mastery Moments. I'm your host, of course, Alisa. And if this is your very first time joining us, welcome to our global family. And if you're one of the faithful disruptors tuning in from one of the many countries around the world, thank you for continuing to choose these conversations that challenge the way you think so we can ultimately change the way we live. Today's guest is someone I've genuinely been looking forward to speaking with. He has spent years helping professionals perform at extraordinary levels without sacrificing themselves in the process. He's a former Tesla leader, an executive coach, keynote speaker, resilience expert, TEDx speaker, podcast host, and the founder dedicated to helping people accelerate their evolution, not just professionally, but personally as well. His work has reached leaders and organizations including Google, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, American Express, TikTok, IBM, Nike, and many more. Jay, welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments. Tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Alisa, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So, who I am, what I do. Big question. I would say that who I am is someone who is insatiably curious. You and I were actually just talking about curiosity before we recorded. I'm a curious person, and I would say that curiosity was not something that I had my entire life. It actually happened when I went through personal loss. And when I lost my father about 12 years ago, Alisa, it was something that really woke me up to my own mortality. It woke me up to, wow, life is going to offer me a lot of disruption and change and chaos and uncertainty. And I didn't know how to deal with it. No one gives us the manual, Lisa. No one says, this is how you deal with this. And so I then started that journey of becoming really curious. And I was insatiably curious. I'd wake up 4 a.m. every day reading books and studying and learning from this philosopher, learning from this author. And I got into neuroscience and wanting to understand how the mind worked. And in doing all of that, I found some avenues to be able to have success without having to suffer in the process. I think this hustle culture that so many people align with is creating so much negativity and so much problem in our inner world and even in our outer world. And so when I left corporate, it's been over 7 years now, my work has been all around helping leaders in those environments where there's so much of that change and chaos and uncertainty. How can they lead well, perform at a high level without having to sacrifice their own happiness in the process? So that's what I
Yes.
do now, and that's what I'm deeply passionate about.
We are so happy to welcome you and learn from you today. But Jay, we before we get into leadership and resilience and burnout and everything you've become and known for, I want to start somewhere where you just let us down a little bit, something a little bit more personal, because I've learned something that after interviewing hundreds of people, the person the world celebrates usually isn't the person who started that journey. When we sit on these platforms, there's always another version. So, who was Jay before we knew him as the resilience guy?
Yeah, Jay was someone who was on autopilot,
Mm,
where I was just riding the waves without any real direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was,
mm-hmm,
how many people are in that cycle where, all right, you go to school, you graduate, you get the degree, then you go to the job, and then you work. And that was going to be my trajectory, Elisa, where I was going to be someone who just was being told how to live my life. I was in a state of reaction, not a state of creating what I wanted. And I had no idea how to break out of it. At the time, before my father passed away, I was 40 pounds overweight. My
mm,
marriage was falling apart. Financially, I was in debt. I was not doing well. And I was overworked. I was not able to deal with the pressure really well. At the time, my
mm-hmm,
daughter was only 2 years old right before my father passed. And I wasn't a real present father because I was just always in my own stuff. And it wasn't until I had to deal with such a personal loss that I woke up. It was like I was dreaming, you know? I was dreaming for much of my life just to sleep. And then I
mm-hmm.
woke up and I said, okay, I want to be better. I want to live better. And as much as that was a difficult thing, anyone who's lost a loved one, you know how hard that is. I feel like it was the thing that shifted my entire trajectory of my life. I don't think I'd be speaking with you today if I didn't have to work through that challenge, that personal challenge.
Yes, because that grew you, and that's kind of what the option is, right? When we are on this earth, we're all presented with peaks and valleys, and when we are in the valley, how we respond, if we allow ourselves to grow through instead of just go through or get over, something beautiful happens on the other side. And I love asking that question because the real story, I think, is where all of the glory kind of lives, right? The bottom of it. So
Yeah.
let's talk about success. Like it wasn't a dream for you. You spent years in finance before you went to Tesla. And on paper, that does sound like a dream for most of us. Like you said, you went to school, and you did the thing, good career, growing professionally, checking all the boxes, but somewhere inside something wasn't sitting right. When did you first realize I built a life that doesn't actually fit me anymore?
Yeah. Well, I started to really understand through the studying I was doing that I want to feel deeply connected to this work, so much
Mm-hmm.
so where if there is high demand, it's something I look forward to. It's something I'm excited about. And I didn't feel that way. I felt like it was more of a check the box, pay the bills, just show up every day and hope to get promoted to make more money. And that didn't feel fulfilling to me. And
Right.
I remember, I was in a Starbucks and I had a tablet that had the little stand on it so you can kind of have a little keyboard, and I'm like typing away at different ideas, industries of the future, ways in which I can shift my career. And I realized that there was a pull that I was feeling at the time, an attraction towards renewable energy because I felt deeply connected to trying to help our planet and offer healthier, cleaner ways to produce energy for our world. And I started to read about it and I felt something. I felt something
Uh-huh.
intuitively, Elisa. Like it wasn't me logically through a spreadsheet and reading about the market. It wasn't like that. It really
Yeah.
wasn't. It was like a feeling of, oh, this this is what something deep within me has been waiting for. And I felt the
Yes.
calling and I just went for it. I didn't even really think about it much. I just went for it. And that led me to leave the finance company and join a company named Solar City. And then Solar City was later acquired by Tesla. And then that's what all the chapters after that was from that
Wow.
single moment of just feeling an intuition when I just
Right.
stopped trying to figure it all out in my brain and just allowed a true feeling, a genuine feeling to arise and surface within me.
We'll be back after a quick break.
And now an exciting growth opportunity for you.
Hey, Mindset Mastery Moments family. I'm Dr. Kareem Ellis. And if you've been listening to Dr. Lisa, chances are you already know you have a message, a purpose, or an expertise that can make a real difference. The question is, are you positioning yourself and that message in a way that creates impact and greater income? You see, that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching in my free live masterclass titled Why Talented Speakers Stay Broke. I'm going to show you the biggest mistakes talented speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders make, and more importantly, how you can avoid it. I'd love for you to join me. Simply visit the gpsspeakersacademy.com/free class to reserve your free seat. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, don't worry one bit. The registration link is waiting for you in the episode description. Thank you, Dr. Alisa Whyte, for allowing me to serve your amazing community. And to all the rest of my peeps out there, I can't wait to see you in class.
I love that. I love that you share that because so many people are here questioning and wondering, how do I know what my purpose is? And I always say, just listen to that still small tug within. And that's where, when you allow yourself to hear yourself and not all the opinions and ideas, like you said, I was shuffling through it, writing. And then, I just went with where I felt I was more connected and I had more of a desire to contribute to the world. And that's why I talk about impact, influence, income, because impact starts where you're like, how can I be a contributor? How can I bring about change? And then you start to influence how people think and feel and do. And that's where now income is generated because you've created influence. Now your income is coming in with that. What are your thoughts
I
about
love that. I love that. I love that formula. It is income is the byproduct. It's something that comes
Yes.
after. And how often are we doing it in the exact opposite way of how you described? At least I know I used to think that way. I used to think, okay, what's going to make me money? What's going to allow me to buy the big house? And
Yes.
the way you just described that, that's what I've experienced too. It is how can I take my natural talent and
Right.
impact the world and add value? You know what's a beautiful thing, Alisa? So I do this in my keynotes. I often will ask groups, I'll say, okay, you're here today at this conference or wherever we are, ultimately so you can what? So you can what? And people say learn. I say, okay, great, learn. You want to learn so you can what? So I can grow. Great. And I keep going and I keep going. And ultimately, Alisa, it doesn't matter if it's a room of bankers. It doesn't matter if it's a room of attorneys. It doesn't matter if it's a group of meeting professionals. It doesn't matter. They all say, I want to impact others. I want to affect others. All of them. It's always at the core of it. Now, a lot of stuff gets in the way, right?
Right.
But
It
at
gets all
everyone's
murky in
core,
there.
right? Everyone's core, Alisa, I truly believe this, at everyone's core, we care deeply about affecting others in a positive way and making an impact.
Yes, yes, I agree. Even when you ask a kid, what do you want to do? I want to teach. I want to be a teacher. So I want to be a pilot. So, and it's when you're a little kid, you're always saying it. And I find when you ask adults, whether no matter how old, I want to, and it's always about others because contribution is a human need, actually. It's not just a human thing, it's human need. We have the need to contribute to society and to the world at large and to our family. So that is so huge. But let's switch a little bit. And you opened up sharing a little bit about how the loss of your father impacted your life. First of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. I lost my dad a few years ago, almost 10 years ago, and sometimes it seems like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
I've learned that grief has a way of stripping away everything that doesn't really matter. 2008, I lost one of my aunts, and that's when I started to connect with loss at a deeper level.
Right.
And no matter who we are, we're going to experience this. Tell us a little bit about how did that loss specifically reshape the way you look at success?
Yeah, I think the thing that really stuck with me was, okay, if I get to the age of my father at 55, that's when he passed away at 55, and my experience of life is I'm stressed, I am anxious because my father often was in that kind of spiral. He was not dealing with his emotions very, very well. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my experience. And I'm just doing enough to get by. That's oftentimes people are just paying the bills. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what I'm gonna be? Am I gonna be happy or am I gonna be full of regret? That's
Mm,
the thing that kept clicking for me, Elisa. Like, will I be at that point in my life feeling like this was what I wanted and this is how I wanted to design it? And I just refused. I refused. It wasn't even something I was choosing consciously. It's just the choice was made. Like, no, that's not it. That's not going to be it for me. And I started to change everything, my diet, how I physical fitness, how I took care of my physical body. And the big one that was really a huge awakening for me was how to deal with disruptive emotions. I think
mm,
that, Elisa, this is something that no one really teaches you in school, high school, college, and we are emotional creatures. We
yes.
are always acting on emotion. We are always experiencing emotion. And I feel like no one ever taught me how to deal with it. If I watched how my
Mm-hmm.
father did it, it would be to suppress it, push it down until it's a pressure cooker that then blows up. And
Blows up.
that's not
Yeah.
healthy. So
Right.
I had to retrain my mind and body on how to deal with disruptive emotions. And it's so much of the work I do now and helping others do that.
That's amazing. You're redefining success for you. I don't know if you found this to be true, but loss does have that strange way of becoming clarity. It hurts, but it also removes the distractions. It did it change what you were chasing or why you were chasing what you were chasing?
It as I was saying before, it got me curious. It got me curious as to, okay, well, there are questions I've never even asked myself. I didn't even
Mhm.
ask, what do I really want? And
Mm,
what's really important to me? Not
yeah.
what's important according to what everyone else tells me is important.
Right.
Because that's what I was doing, Elisa. It was
Right.
what my mother said would be important and what the society tells me is important. And I was
Yeah.
just following their script. And I said, wait a minute, wait. Is this the script that I want to write? Well,
Yes.
if it's not, what is the script that I want to write? And so I started to write it. And I mean, it's incredible. And I know, Lisa, from listening to your episodes and your podcasts that you align with this, which is I realize that I can create. I am a
Mm,
creator of it. I
mm,
can choose what I really want from my life. And if I have that choice, I want impact and joy. I want achievement and peace. And I
mm.
learned that it's possible. It's not just this dream that you hope you can get. It's possible for everyone right now. You just need to understand the approach that will get you there. And I think you also have to be quite patient because it's not going to happen overnight. But with patience and persistence, I believe it's possible. I know it's possible.
Yes. And I am right there with you. I co-sign that. And one of the things you speak openly about, and I'm building this up because you're going to take us there. I want people to see the work you've done to become the person that you are now to help us deal with disruptive emotions and stand in resilience and embrace the journey of what's truly available to all of us. But like you said, it's peace, joy, abundance. You've spoken about your divorce openly. That's another experience that forces people to redefine themselves. I've journeyed that myself. What did that season teach you about identity? Because sometimes we don't lose people, we lose versions of ourselves. And that's where
Yeah.
the loss of others come.
I think what it taught me was that we are ever evolving
Mm,
in our mindset and the seasons that we are in life, the chapter that we're living. And taking inventory of who are the people in your life in that season and is it Is it the right match? Is it something where you feel this exchange between this person and it's supportive of one another? And in taking inventory of that, is it necessary to change that relationship? And can you do so without resentment, without holding on to anything and just being able to let it go? And I
Yeah.
feel like that's really what happened with my divorce, which was
Hmm.
I don't have any resentment towards my ex-wife, and I know she doesn't have any towards me. We are still very
That's right.
friendly. We still have a good relationship. And you know what? We just reached a season where this was no longer the appropriate match
Doesn't
anymore.
serve. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't serve. Yeah, I love the way you just termed it. It doesn't serve me. It's not serving her. We have this short life to live. Let's live it in a way where we're both going to be happy. So
Hmm.
it wasn't the easiest decision. Of course not. There was so many layers to it. My daughter, of course, and her having now parents that are co-parenting and not married anymore. That's always a challenge. Of course it was.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like I learned that when two people can let go, do so with alignment, then it's actually quite a beautiful thing when you look back. And
Yeah.
also, my daughter is not really negatively impacted. If you were to ask her about it, she'd be like, yeah, it's okay. Like she didn't feel like she's in a broken home or a real negative situation. She's
Right.
getting support from both her parents.
Yes, and probably has a bonus mom and a bonus dad as well
Yeah,
to
my
chip in.
my wife now and her, they have a fantastic relationship, and my ex-wife also remarried, and they have a good relationship too, so she has a lot of love, that kid.
There you go. And that's
Yeah.
what it's all about. And I too, my divorce was quite the same. We we made that decision together. I think they're calling it a conscious uncoupling. There's so many names for it, but it was we did not know any such thing. We just knew, and it was hard to let go, but we did. And I believe I know for me for sure it was one of the hardest, best decisions of my life in my adult life only because purpose and peace before pride. And I say that because it's pride that allows us to not want to feel like we lost or we quit or the world forces us, oh, what a shame. No, especially if you're in any form of organized religion, it could come on that. So I appreciate you for sharing that and for being so open because many people hearing the story would probably think, okay, life got hard, then Tesla happened, like somehow success solved everything. But I have a feeling that's not actually what happened. And that's what you proved that it was you choosing your path defined by you and your soul's calling to be able to create the life that you have and the life that you lead with impact and influence and obviously income. So tell me about walking into Tesla because from the outside people think Tesla is innovation, speed, prestige, a dream company. What did you experience that most people never get to see?
Yeah, so I remember one of the first interactions I had with, folks at Tesla, and I think it was before the meeting, I was thinking, "Okay, I'm gonna go in there, and this is gonna be a group of people where they have everything figured out." And I'm gonna be learning from them, you know? And it was
Yeah.
so funny, Elisa, because I remember the exact meeting, and it was a group of people who were like, "Jay, we don't have any of this figured out. Can you help us to figure this out?" Right?
Yeah.
Which was cool, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it was a surprise. I assumed it was gonna be and I was in the leadership I'm sorry, learning and development department of Tesla, so I
That's
can only speak to
awesome.
that culture, right? And that culture
Right.
at the time was actually really healthy, and we had a Tesla Academy with some great leadership, and there were people that were very curious. They wanted to learn from the people who they were bringing on, and so we had this culture of curiosity, and of course, there were tough times. You know, there were seasons where things were really, really difficult. I mean, you would work, at least like on a project for weeks or even months, a new initiative for training. And
Mhm.
there is a tweet from a certain CEO who decides, you know what, we're doing something completely different for the business. And it's like,
We're like,
well, everything we just did, we have to let go of, right? So,
yeah.
Alisa, what I think was the most valuable lesson I learned in my experience at Tesla was to be adaptable. I think it's
Mm,
needed now more than ever. If we
yes.
are in seasons within our workplaces where there's going to be change, there's going to be uncertainty, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring with emerging technologies and just complete changes within the workforce. Well, the people who will thrive are the people who are adaptable. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that I've had that experience because I had to learn how to let go of something and start something new through experience. It wasn't something someone taught
Yeah.
me. You didn't have a choice. Either you were going to do
Exactly.
that or you were going to burn out and have to quit the job.
Yeah. That's true. Oh my goodness. How to pivot. That's so important. So those 6 promotions in 4 years, that was extraordinary. Most people would assume every promotion brought new confidence. Did it really do that, or did each level simply expose a new version of yourself that you needed to grow?
Well, I feel like I was on I guess I used the term wave before, I'll use it again here, but it was more of like a positive wave. I felt like, when things lock in, think of like a combination lock, right? And you hear the click of the combination lock and it opens up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like that's what was happening, where the stars were aligning and things were flowing, and I just was in a great state and a great trajectory,
Mhm.
surrounded by people that really believed in me, which is always an important factor when you have people around you that believe in you. And
Mhm.
I was just moving from one thing to the next, doing my best to not attach to anything. And that's another huge lesson that I've just learned personally in my life, which is to not get too high when the high moments come and not too low when the low moments come, and
Mhm.
just be more in that state of equanimity right in the middle to say, okay, this is the
Yes.
next thing and the next thing. And I just feel like what that experience was like for me was one of just maintaining a sense of wanting to contribute and be curious and help in any way I could. And because of that, I think a lot of great things happened. Don't get me wrong, there were moments of total fear and oh my god, how am I going to do this? But Elisa, what I decided and I've since maintained is when there's an opportunity, I'm going to raise my hand and say yes, and I'm going to figure it out. I'm just going to figure it out. I trust myself enough to say I'll figure this out as I go, even if I make mistakes and look foolish. In the end, I'm going to learn from that too.
Yes. What an amazing thing to learn, I would say, so early in life. If you're not 80 and old and cold and can't really do much and you learn those lessons, you're winning already. That's just what I think, right?
I
So
appreciate
when
that.
one of the
Yeah.
things I found fascinating about your journey too was you weren't just leading projects, you were developing people, you were training leaders, and that gives you that unique perspective. So let me ask you this. When you observed hundreds, maybe thousands of high performers, what separated the ones who inspired people from the ones who simply managed people?
I think the answer is so clear to me. It's the person who was authentic, vulnerable, human. I think that's the character trait that I see in those leaders that
Yeah.
could have a healthy balance of leading people and driving performance, because that's ultimately what a leader's doing, right? You have to lead people and you have to drive performance. Those are two things. You can't have one without the other. If it's just about people, then you might be that doormat where you're just always empathetic but
Yes.
performance is affected. You don't want to be that hard-nosed leader where it's just performance, 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 and you forget about people. So
Right.
I observed leaders who could get on, and I'd watch them, I'd observe them. They would get in a meeting and you felt their humanity from the moment the meeting started. They were just real. They were honest. They would speak. They wouldn't overshare either, right? They
Right.
wouldn't
They
overshare.
have that, that
Right.
delicate
They have that
balance.
balance, right? They would be real and human, and they would ensure that the focus remained on getting the job done.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that this leader, by the way, was liked by everyone. They weren't. They weren't always liked by everyone. They were always respected by everyone.
Yes. Yes. That's such an important distinction because management controls and leadership connects, is what like to say. Management tells people what to do, leadership changes who people become. Would you agree with that, Jay?
Absolutely. I feel like connection is ultimately what we're always looking for in anything in life. We always want to feel connected to people. We want to feel connected to our work, connected to ourselves. And if there is a leader who can do that effectively, can connect people to what they're doing, to their work, to each other, that leader is going to create a healthy culture, a positive culture, and will also drive success with the business.
Yes, yes. And today we hear words like culture, engagement, psychological safety, well being. Every organization is starting to get on board with these buzzwords, but saying them and living them are two very different things. Where do you think organizations are still getting it wrong, Jay?
I think that oftentimes people are feeling like, okay, I just need to use those words in a meeting. I need to put it into an email, right? And if I do that, that's enough.
Make
Like,
sure HR tells people that we are about this life.
yeah, you put the words on the wall when you walk into the office, right? Like, and that's sufficient. And I feel like it takes courage, Elisa. It takes courage to be that
Yeah.
kind of leader. I remember when I was working at Tesla and we went through layoffs and it was hard on everyone. There was a layoff of people within our own department. And what my leader did was he got us all on a call and because we're all over the country, so we couldn't meet in person, but we got on a Zoom and he opened by sharing how hard it was for him,
Mm.
how difficult that was. And he was just real about it. He was genuine. And then it wasn't very long, Elisa. He didn't talk for 10 minutes. He literally just for a minute or two shared what
Mhm.
he was going through and then just said, and I just want to hear from everyone how everyone's doing. And he just stopped talking. And then everyone started to chime in about what they were experiencing and what they were feeling. And Elisa,
Yeah.
that is great leadership in action. That took courage for him to get on that call, to share what he was going through, and then to stop talking and actively listen to every single person in that meeting. And because of that, he created that culture versus trying to label the culture and hope people will just align with it.
Line with it. Uh-huh. That's so distinctive. Wow. And there's something you say that really caught my attention. You don't simply teach resilience, you teach conscious leadership. And I think that's a phrase a lot of people hear without fully understanding what it means. So I would love for you to help us unpack that because I think conscious leadership may actually be the missing ingredient in creating resilient people and healthy cultures and sustainable success ultimately. So I would love to hear your take and what conscious leadership really is.
Yeah. So I think if I were to kind of contrast what it isn't, it might be helpful. So
Okay.
if I were to take you back to before I learned about any of this is when I was still working at that finance company. And let's say, I came up with an idea of how to improve the department. And we're in a meeting with my team. What I'm going to do back then, because I hadn't learned these things, is I'm
Yeah.
sharing this idea and I want everyone to agree with it because I want to be the one that gets the credit. This was my
Yeah.
idea. I want you all to support me, right? And
Mhm.
that puts me at the center of attention. I want to get the credit. I want to be rewarded. And that's not conscious leadership. That's ego fueled leadership. It's about me. What conscious leadership looks like would be to get people into a room and invite them to come up with the solutions and
Mhm.
not have any preference on who comes up with it. It's
Right.
about what's right, not who's right. It is being able to drop one's ego and to not make it about oneself. And the other thing that's
Ooh.
important about conscious leadership is that the natural human tendency, Elisa, is for us to, especially when it's a difficult situation, it's for us to fall into the mindset of being the victim.
Ooh.
I'm the victim of circumstance. I'm the victim of how this person's handling this or how this person talked to me or even my team not delivering the results. And I'm the victim because they're not doing their job, right? And One thing a conscious leader needs to do is to shift out of a victim mindset completely. And
Mm,
that's not easy. I mean, it is just a natural human response to be in a victim mindset a lot of
yes.
time when we're struggling. So it's to be able to notice the tendency to fall into that mindset and to shift
Yes.
out of it quickly into a much more service oriented mindset.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love that so much because I think we've confused confidence with consciousness. And some people are incredibly confident, but they're completely unaware of the impact they're having on everyone around them. Now, would you agree that awareness is also actually a foundation? Self awareness is a foundation of leadership.
Alisa, I think it's the foundation of everything under the sun. You know,
Agree.
like really, it is the foundation for success, for happiness, for leadership, for all of it. And I feel
Yes.
like it is something that we all know. It's something you hear all the time. And few people, Lisa, and I say this with a heavy heart because I really want listeners to take this to heart. Few people really intentionally practice. I want people to think of self awareness not as just an idea that sounds nice, a concept. No, self awareness is a practice, meaning
Yeah.
daily, I am observing myself with so much intention. Like I am watching everything that I do. I every day I have a meditation practice where I set my mind to be able to be more self-aware. I am just sitting there, not thinking or doing anything. I just sit and observe, and I'm observing whatever thoughts come up, whatever emotions come up, and that's something that I do daily, as well
Yeah.
as throughout the day. There's like this little Jay up here that's watching Jay. You know, it's
Little J.
like, yeah, little Jay's watching what am I doing? What are my patterns? What am I
Yeah.
thinking about? And are these thoughts serving me? Are these thoughts helpful? And especially in a leadership position, because you are influencing people, you are influencing how they're showing up. It's even more important for a leader to make this a practice. So I am 100% with you. It is the foundation to effective, conscious leadership.
I love it. You also talk about ego, and I wanted to get into that just a little bit because ego gets a bad reputation. Some people think confidence is ego, others think ambition is ego. How do you define ego, and when does healthy confidence become unhealthy ego? Because ego is not the problem. I say an unhealthy level or functioning of ego is what becomes an issue for us. Talk to us
Yeah.
about how you define it.
Yeah. So, how I would define the way you described it, an unhealthy ego is I am, my thoughts, my words, and actions are fueled so that I get what I want only
Every time. Yeah,
every
only.
time. Yeah. I get what I want. I get things my way. That is an
Mhm.
unhealthy ego. So, the word that comes up is control. An
Yeah.
unhealthy ego is attempting to control everything. And when things don't go the way that person wants, they fall into an emotional disruption of some sort. So the healthy ego would be, yes, of course, I recognize that I have certain needs. I want to take care of my own mental and emotional and spiritual
Right.
state. That's a
Right.
healthy ego. And
Yes.
I realize that most things are outside of my control. It's a
Yeah.
funny thing. Control is something I often talk about, Elisa, because there is this illusion of control that we all have.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
total illusion. You and I, before we started recording, we were talking about the weather, right? You were like saying the weather in Arizona. I'm talking about the weather in here. Like, imagine people trying to control the weather,
Yeah,
like
right?
saying, right, like saying, I want it to, I need it to be 80 degrees and sunny and breeze. And if it isn't, I'm going to get mad that it isn't. And I get frustrated by it. But that's
Yeah.
what we do, right? We say like, "Oh, I wanna control other people, control my environment, control the way things roll out." That's not how it works. So what
Nope.
I encourage people to do, Lisa, is let go of control. Drop it completely. Where your power is in choice. You have power in choosing the story you tell yourself about what's happening, choosing choosing the perspective that you choose to take, right? What is the angle at which I am looking at this? And then, of course, choosing one's response to their circumstances. To me, that's where
Yes.
our power lies. It was that Viktor Frankl quote from A Man's Search for Meaning. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space
Mm,
is our power to choose our response. In our
mm.
response lies our growth and our freedom. The
Ooh,
middle of that quote, he says, the space to choose our response, not control. It's the space to choose our response. But for that space to be there, one, we need self awareness. We need to be able to pause
mm-hmm.
and observe. And then we can step into that power of choice.
That's so powerful because I don't think ego always sounds loud. Sometimes it just whispers and it says, I have to prove myself. I have to be perfect. I can't let anyone see me struggle. And ironically, those thoughts make leadership incredibly lonely. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah. I mean, I think self doubt is a big problem for people. I think insecurity around one's ability to perform, or, I mean, I consider myself a recovering people pleaser. I always say
Right.
that. I'm a
And
recovering
that's
people pleaser. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
egocentric on an unhealthy layer of ego, many individuals don't realize that's the lacing beneath is to prove myself worthy of. So now I want to control everything so I can remain in that context of I am worthy and I am everything that everyone should desire and want to be following. I feel that's where the ego literally creeps up because you have that one person who might become a doormat and then that other person who becomes like the villain who everyone says so self-centered and egocentric.
I'm with you. And Elisa, I have a little story to paint the picture here that I want to share with you. So
Uh-huh.
I want you to imagine, okay, there's this, let's say, a traveler who hears about a sorcerer, and the sorcerer can give you unlimited wealth, all the money in the world. So this young traveler goes and meets the sorcerer, walks into the cave, and the sorcerer's sitting there on this big throne. And the sorcerer
Mm.
says, I know why you're here. You're here because you want unlimited wealth. And the traveler says, yes, that's why I'm here. And the sorcerer says, okay, I will give you all the money that you would like, all the money in the world under one condition. The traveler listens. What's the condition? Sorcerer says, you see this remote control right here? And it's a remote control with a red button and a green button. And the sorcerer says, this controls your happiness and your sense of worthiness. I own this remote. If I push the red button, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel happy. If I push the green button, you feel worthy and you feel happy. I will own this for the rest of your life and I will give you all the money in the world. If you were the traveler in that story, would you do it?
No.
You would
No,
say
no.
no. It
Yeah, I
wouldn't
don't
matter
want
how much
anybody.
money, right?
Yeah, I
Why
don't
would
want
I
anyone to
hand over my happiness? Why would I hand over my sense of worthiness to somebody? You wouldn't do it for all the money in the world, Elisa. So then why are people doing it for free?
Ooh, mic drop. Whoa.
We've all done it. I've
That's
done it too. We do it for free. We give it
yes.
away. My sense of worthiness is based off of what you tell me about me, based off of my per- level of job, career, based off of what people are saying about me. That's crazy. We all do it.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone listening, take full ownership of it. Don't hand over that remote. That's yours. Don't give it away.
Yeah. Ooh, that's wild. I love that. I've never heard that analogy or fable before, but it makes absolute sense. When you said we do it for free, I'm like, haven't I done that over and over again? My goodness. Let's talk resilience, Jay, because I think this word has been misunderstood. People think resilience mean work harder, push longer, sleep less, keep smiling, never quit. But that's really survival, not resilience. So, what's the biggest misconception people have about resilience?
Yeah, I think people will say resilience means I keep going even when it's hard.
Mm.
That's how it's often defined. And
Mm-hmm.
that's nonsense. It's nonsense because
Take it from
it,
me,
it
I know.
yeah, it's nonsense because it's also just so out of alignment with what's natural. So think
Yeah.
about how nature works, how trees grow, how anything
Mm-hmm.
evolves. In nature, there is a period of rest and a period of growth. It's just the way it always is in nature. Yet, because of the way the human mind can get wired, we operate differently. I use this analogy a lot, Elisa, with when it comes to resilience, and it's something everyone could relate to because everyone in the world, well, most people in the world, they're walking around with a cell phone. They love that thing. They carry it with them everywhere they go. They would never leave the house without it. And
Right.
everyone charges their phone regularly. I know you charge your phone, Elisa, right? Every day. I charge my phone every day. And I know to do that because if the phone doesn't have any charge, it's pretty useless. I mean, what would I use it for? It'd be like a paperweight or a doorstop or like it would have no real use, right?
No use, it would not be functioning at its full purpose and
Right,
potential.
exactly. There's so much
Yeah.
more the phone can do when it's
Yeah.
charged. We know this for our cell phones, and we don't apply this to ourselves a lot of the time. We will say, I'm going to charge my phone every day. I want to make sure it has all the battery it needs so it can perform. Yet
Mhm.
for us, we say, be resilient, keep pushing even when it's hard, even if it means I have to sacrifice that time to recharge. Well, that's silly.
Yes.
You would wait until, and this is, oftentimes what people do, because I work with so many leaders in these environments, you'll wait
Yes.
until you depleted yourself down to zero and you need to take a vacation or even time FMLA, or you wait for the weekends and the weekends is for you, and then Monday through Friday you're back to the grind, and it's just not sustainable, Elisa. So
Exactly.
when you consider that analogy, it is not a nice to have, it is a
It's a
non-negotiable. You
come
have
on.
to charge yourself regularly, just like you would
Mhm.
your cell phone. And for everyone, that could be different, whether it's physical fitness, whether it's meditation, prayer. You just need to know what your charge is, what gives you charge, and commit to doing it consistently.
Absolutely. I love it. And that leads us to your amazing framework. I couldn't wait to hear you share on recharge, reframe, reconnect. One of the things I really, really love, and it doesn't just diagnose the problem. You actually give people this framework that let's walk it through. Let's have you walk us through it, and starting with the recharge and what it actually looks like.
Absolutely. I think for anybody to be able to build resilience within themselves, they need these three things regularly. So we just talked about recharge, and that is to create a system for yourself. So I'm referring
Yeah.
to habits, routines, ways in which you consistently recharge. And for all the listeners here, I know how busy you can get, and I know how
Yeah.
much is on your plate. It doesn't mean you need to spend 2 hours every morning before everybody else wakes up to do your recharge.
Mm,
It's not the only way. I've worked with people where we figured out ways for them to recharge within, 10 minutes between meetings, and they would do some physical fitness to recharge, call a loved one, like just finding a way to incorporate it into your schedule. So that's the first one, recharge. The
yes.
second, reframe. So what this is referring to is being able to observe your normal tendency of how you're thinking about something and the story you're telling yourself, and
Mhm.
to shift into a completely different thought pattern. And with that, we
Mm,
have 3 steps. I call it the ABCs of how we deal with change. So, A is to acknowledge. Whatever comes up for you, acknowledge it. You're going through something hard, acknowledge that. Going through difficulty at work, acknowledge that. This is what's coming up for me, and I acknowledge it. The next step, B, is be curious. Start to ask some questions. What is this really about? Am I truly unsafe in this scenario, or is this the story I'm telling myself about the scenario? And what are my options? This kind of curiosity gets you into that state of being the observer and looking at ways that will serve you to work through the challenge. So that's how we're reframing. And then third step of this is to channel. So acknowledge, be curious, channel. With channel, we are now channeling whatever our response is towards something positive and meaningful. So when you walk through these 3 steps over and over again through practice, it becomes more of a habit than it would be a deep practice. At first, it requires intention to go through these 3 steps, but you want it to be where it's routine for you whenever you're going through
yes.
difficulty. And then
Yeah.
the third R, at least, is to reconnect. And this I really want to hit home on is a practice, not just an idea. It is every day to start your day by bringing to mind what is deeply meaningful for you and how
Yes.
the work you're doing connects the dots to what is ultimately your life's work and what you're really hoping to achieve in your life, the people of whom you wish to serve, the effect, the impact, as you said before. We need to reconnect to this daily. And in doing so, we are able to frame our minds towards something that we really care about in the
Mm-hmm.
same way that you would, let's say, visualize something that you wish to achieve in your life. And visualization, I'm a big believer in. I believe it's incredibly effective. We could talk about that if you like. And in doing this practice daily, you are proactively creating the experience that you want within your own mind and
Yes.
body versus letting the world tell you what you should be focusing on.
Mm, so good. So, so good. That is so good. We can't have enough time on this show. This episode is not long enough. We gotta do a part two. So we're going to do flip the script. It's one of my favorite parts, and this part of the season we've decided to do rapid fire questions. So Jay, are you ready?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, I'm going to throw some questions at you. Don't overthink them. Just answer whatever comes to your mind first. Ready?
Ready.
Let's go. Success is
Happiness and impact.
failure taught me.
How to respond with learning versus react with emotion.
Ooh, I love that. Leadership without something is dangerous.
Leadership without self-awareness is dangerous.
Spot on. One belief about resilience people need to stop believing.
That hustle culture will actually make you happy.
The biggest lie high achievers tell themselves.
When I get there, then I'll be okay.
Ooh, so good. One habit you will never negotiate.
Meditation.
Yes. The best investment you've ever made in yourself.
I think it is. I'm going to keep saying meditation because it was the greatest investment I ever made in myself. The time
Yeah.
and energy and understanding what meditation is, how to meditate, and how to make it a daily practice.
One lesson your father left with you.
It's the lesson around people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
One book every leader should read.
Only one?
I know, we've got plenty. That's a hard one for me too.
Just one. One book every leader should read. The one that comes to mind is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I just feel like every person should read that.
Should
And
read
it
that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whether you're in a leadership, well, I guess every person's a leader in some ways. I think everybody
Yes.
should read that book.
Yeah. What's one thing people should stop apologizing for?
They should stop apologizing for saying no.
Ooh. Erase one corporate buzzword forever.
There's so many. One corporate buzzword. The one that I want to choose here. I guess you brought up psychological safety. It just, I don't know. I feel like it's been used a lot. And so it just feels like it's a little cliche at this point.
It is because no one is psychologically. I'm just cracking up with that one. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And the last one, finish this sentence for us.
Purpose is something that you intuitively feel, not something that you logically explain.
Ooh. Here it comes. When history remembers Jay Abbasi, what do you hope they remember?
I hope they remember that your happiness and success is available to you right now and not something that you have to crave in the future and strive for, that it's available to you right here, right now.
So good. Oh my goodness. I feel like that was a whole podcast episode all by itself, this segment. But oh my goodness, thank you so much, Jay, for playing along with me. And we got the cheers too.
Alisa, thank you so much for having me. This was a fantastic experience, and I'm so grateful that you had me on.
Absolutely. But before I let you go, I always ask every guest to leave us, our listeners, with a few mindset bites to go. You can just share with them maybe a growth mindset or any tips or hacks that they can implement today to be able to transform how they live and lead. And I would say how they live, lead, and love.
So I think it's important for everyone to set goals and to not invest your sense of happiness, worth, your sense of success in the achievement of that goal. So if I tell myself I want to climb a mountain, I tell myself I'm going to climb that mountain because that's how I choose to live and I choose to celebrate and I choose to make an impact. But I'm not telling myself that's where my happiness is. Instead, I then bring myself to every step on the journey and I'm going to enjoy every step. I'm going to take it all in, feeling like my growth, my development comes with every step. And then when you get to the top of that mountain, when you achieve the goal, you know what you're going to see? You're going to see another mountain to climb. And that's the way to live. That's success. That's where you can pair achievement with happiness.
Good. I love it. Thank you, Jay. So we've got to know, what are you up to and how can we get involved and also stay connected with you?
Yeah, I mean, my website will always have everything, and that's jayabbasi.me. I'm also really active on LinkedIn. Anyone can find me there and connect. And I am in the process of working on my first book, which I'm really excited about. We are in the process of editing, and that should be coming out end of 2026 or early 2027.
Congratulations. And you have to come back and talk to us about that. Let us know when it's ready to go. And we can't wait to hear more from you. This has been such an incredible, refreshing conversation, because today wasn't just really about burnout. It was definitely about real leadership from the inside and then leading those that we take charge of. And it's also about becoming as well. So thank you, Jay, for being here and sharing your time and lessons with us.
It was a true pleasure, Alisa. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. If today's conversation challenged your thinking, inspired your heart, or give you an idea you'll carry into tomorrow, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone else who needs it. Subscribe and reach out to Jay and let him know that you heard him on Mindset Mastery Moments. Leave a review for us as well. And listen, keep mastering your mindset. How you think is what you begin to speak, what you do, and what you become. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye now.